Hello and welcome to Flooring Models Kit Review time. Today we've got Trumpeter's 1/48 scale Hind 24D. Now it's great to see these aircraft. Let's face it, we've got the Hound now, we've got the Hind 24, we've got the Mi-8, or was it the 17, whichever version is coming along. So it's nice to have these helicopters in 1/48 scale. So as you can see, I think this is the Polish one. Yes, it is the Polish one in just the all over sort of green camo, which is quite boring for Hinds because let's face it, there's some fantastic detailed ones out there. But anyway, nice little bit of box arts coming over the water. Some details of what we can actually expect from this particular one. So as you can see, you've got the gun down in here. It's the old sort of fashion one on the actual turret, cabin interior, cockpit, you know, the various things as you might imagine right the way through. You've got your kit number for this one, which is 05812. Some of more of your options which down in here. So it looks like we get the Soviet and the Polish one down in there. So in the box, we are greeted by the usual bumpy sheet. Usual protecting, which we do love with Trumpeter and Hobby Boss. They do actually a fantastic job on that one. We have our very nice Hind. We have obviously some of the interior detail. And we've got some more of the other bits down in there. And, oh, don't normally get them in a bag like this for the clear parts, which is fair enough. We've got a little bit of photo etch, and when we say little, we mean that's it. That's literally a lot. We've got decals, which is fair enough. And we've got the instructions. And as always, we'll have a quick run through the instructions first. So we've got the colour sheet we can go through. So as you can see, pretty much as we would expect, the normal sort of layout when you're dealing with Trumpeter or Hobby Boss, right the way through. So we've got some nice seats going down into there. Then obviously we've got the sort of bench seats in the back, the cockpit, all the details. I do believe all the surface detail is going to be decals on this particular one, right the way through, going down in there. And then obviously we've got front and rear compartments being fitted in. And then obviously we've got the bulkhead to the rear cabin. So that is down in there like that. Then we're moving over. So this is actually the drive shaft, if you like, that runs up through the exhaust system on this one. So obviously out of the back. So you can see those being fitted in for both sides. Rest of the cabin work going down in there. Decal placement down in this one as well. And then obviously we've got the roof of the cabin with some details up there, some of the soundproofing bits and pieces. All right. So then we've got those exhausts being fitted down onto this one. And then we've obviously got the rear bulkhead going on, completes that sort of cabin area. The nose wheel well bay being fitted down into there as well. So that's all separate parts. Then we've got the rear wheel well bays being put together. Again, nice, straightforward, easy option how to do that one. There is a few holes to open up as well. So we've got showing those where to make those opened up. And then obviously we've got the wheel wells being fitted and the interior glass being fitted in there as well. And then down onto the other side, we've got that nose gun being fitted down into there in the actual turret. And then obviously we've got the start of the sort of gearbox area, the things like that as well, running up to the roof and that being plated in there. Two halves going together, bring that all together. Then we've got the side doors, obviously being opened up as well. So those being put on. And then obviously we've got the main gear doors as well, being fitted onto there. Then we've got the pylons. So the all-important little winglets, which do work apparently very, very well on the Hind. So again, we've got those being put together. We've got the intakes with the cover on the fronts of those ones as well. And then obviously we've got the underside. We've got the sighting system and the various bits and pieces being fitted down there. Wheels, various ones. APU being fitted in between the two engines as well. So that's being fitted on there. Those intakes going onto this one. Then we've got the winglets being fitted onto that one. Tail rotor. We've got the disco light on the back being fitted onto that one. And then obviously we've got some of those photo etch, which I did wonder what they were. They're actually steps. So the photo etch is the steps areas down underneath those. And then we've got the little tails being fitted down onto that one. Doors being fitted, the last of the few little bits being fitted just down in there. Then we've got the tail scraper. So we've got the little line running down the back onto that one. And then we've actually got the other part of the door. So they've molded them in a sort of weird way, to be honest. So they've done this one with the sort of the bulges going into there, but it's not part of the door system, if that makes sense. All right. We've got that little light as well. So we've got the sort of landing light being fitted down onto there as well. And then we've got the weapons. So we've got your normal sort of rockets. You've got your guided missiles as well being fitted down onto there. And then we're working into the rotor head. Nice big old rotor head to this one, going right the way through, and looks to be nicely detailed all the way through. And then last up is obviously the clear parts, which are going to make up the big part of this one, with the door, the various areas being fitted onto this one. There's a few lumps, bumps and aerials being fitted into that one, and that will complete your Hind. Weapons loadout, which is obviously just saying about for the missiles. I don't know about the D. I thought that it could actually carry 2 lots if you wanted to. It could carry the guided missiles on the outer and the inner. But there we go, showing apparently it can't on here. So there we go. Very nice indeed. All right. So markings options. As I said, we've got this one here, which is the Polish one, which is quite a boring green all over, to be honest, compared to some of the nice Polish ones that are out there. And then we've got your sort of standard Soviet one as well, with the green over that tan, with the blue underside as well, sort of, you know, very much the sort of Cold War colours down in there, with being the older version being the D. So into the decals, let's put these in. So we'll just take off one little side. There we go. So decals themselves looking pretty standard, is what we'd expect. They're a little bit shiny, but generally I think they're all okay, as you can see. So that's all your interior stuff down here. So, you know, again, there's other options you can go through, but you've got various separate dials making up the instrument panel, side ones as well being down in here. That's ones with all being fitted in there. Then to say Soviet and the Polish markings. For your guided missiles, I think it's for the rocket pods. Pretty much, not hundreds of decals, which is quite nice. So there we go, that's those. Then we've got the actual, put those in there safely, that little bit of photo etch, which, as I said, is only a couple of steps, a couple of bits in there, so there's not an awful lot going on with that one. So if I just move these just here a second. Okay, so straight into the meat of it, into the fuselage. So I know there's going to be a lot of comparisons out there, obviously, between the Zvezda one, which came out about the same time as this kit did. We've already done a review of the Zvezda one, as you've probably seen. And again, my only sort of thing with the Zvezda one was it was lacking in surface detail and things like that. Well, clearly this one is got far more detail on it. It's still all recessed, which is a little bit of a problem. I would love to have seen raised rivets down in here. If you've ever been near a Hind in real life, you know this back end is just full of raised rivets. It's all recessed detail on this one. Which again is a little bit of a shame. It would have been nice to see a little bit more, but generally overall quite nicely laid out. I like the way that the nose is actually put on already, because otherwise normally you get that big graph line when they've done a few different versions of this one, but it hasn't. It's all the way in here. So yeah, generally looking very nice. So if we move through on the close-up, you can see that detail popping. Looks all very, very nice. See, whilst we're down here, to be honest, that looks quite nice. You've got the actual instrument panel down in there. That looks very, very nice indeed. We've got the gun, and then obviously we've got the optic for the sights. Over here we've got obviously the wheel wells, and I assume down in here as well, which we don't have any ejector pins in the inside, which is quite nice, which is those. Main gear, this is the overhead area down in the rear. That's the other hot side of that sight as well. We've got intakes, and this is the belly section. So you've got the sort of landing light on there. This one over here that I said about, actually, that's more like the taxi light, if you like, for this one right the way through. So generally very, very nice. And then again, same on the other side. On the inside of the cockpit, because it sort of, it all goes in, that's fine. But we've still got some quite nasty ejector pins down in here, which you're probably going to have to take care of if you're going to have it open, because you will look through and see it on the other side. So, but apart from that, pretty nice all the way through. Actually, it's quite nice detail on that one. And where do you go? Okay, so so next up, we've got the main rotor head system. Now they've done it probably the nicer way, if you like. It's got big contact areas, going to be easier to put together, and we've got the various other parts for the cabin door, floor and the back, and obviously the roof and things like that. I think if we start just down in here, we can see that cabin floor looks quite nice. There's actually some quite good details down in all of these, that rear bulkhead as well. This is those winglets, which obviously go through, which look pretty good to me, no problem at all. These are the panels. I think these are the ones that go between the cockpit and the actual crew compartment down the back. These are the actual one-piece molded for the pylons on these, which are very nicely done with all of those. Nice level of detail. There's no sink mark in them either, so that's quite nice. All right, and then we're up to these rotor head systems. So actually the way they've done that is actually quite nice. So you've got nice big contact areas onto the blades. So instead of it being like a pin and being quite weak, you've got a nice big area. So as long as that's a good fit, that's actually a very nice way of doing it. It simplifies that because that could have been made up of lots and lots of parts. Same goes as well for the tail rotor. That's nice as well. We've got the strengthening plates molded in nicely down in here in the tails. And then last of all up here, we've got the cabin roof with a little bit of quilting in there, things like that. Then obviously we've got the pilot's door. We've got that gearbox area where it's going to sit on top for the rotor shaft. And then at the front here as well, we've got the sort of the top housing for the actual engine. So there's no actual engine detail in this kit whatsoever, which is a little bit of a shame because it would be nice to have them open and shown and things like that. Generally though, very, very nice. There's a little bit of flash on the ejector pins, which are pretty much on everything. So you might want to just make sure you go around and take them out. I've got one here, as you can see it's in here. So you just want to make sure that's off. They're also in here as well. So those could foul if you're trying to put bits together. So make sure your cleanup's good on all your parts and you should be okay. Right, okay, so down in here we have the bottom area. There's the joint. Okay, so we just whip that off, that protector. Again, another nice touch with all of their parts. So we've got lots and lots of detail parts down in here. It all looks very clean and crisp and nice, I have to say, with all of that. So this is spruce C. So you can see very nice details if we walk it down. And then we go, so we've actually got the main doors, which don't have ejector pins and have got nice detail on the inside as well. So that's very nice. We've got a little bit of the side console down in here. We've got over here, this is the actual APU for starting the aircraft up. Seats, a bit basic, but you could do a few things with that. So we've got the cushions, the various other parts, and then down on here, as I say, you've got the engines, you've got the sights, the trackers, we've got down in here for the power management inside the cockpit. So yeah, very, very nice indeed. We've got all those circuit breakers at the back nicely molded. They're in there. And then obviously down here at the front, we've got some more of the smaller little parts for actuators, various things. So we've got the cyclic down in here, collective, things like that, right the way through. So that's actually very nice indeed. And again, so we haven't got any ejector pins in any way you'd worry about. So there's nothing on the insides of the doors. There's nothing on the insides of the wheel wells. So actually that's all very nicely done. Keep that safe. Okay, last up for the main screws, we've got the rotors. So we've got to have multiples down in here, I would assume. So we've got match pair, so we'll just look at the one. So we've got raised detail on the rotors and recess, which is nice. The rocket pods as well, looking very nice indeed. So yeah, that's pretty darn good. So we've got a nice level of, probably on the bigger camera, you can see we've got a bit of sag molded into the rotors. So we don't have to worry about that. But generally, you can see all over. Very nice details on the rocket pods. We've got no weight on wheels or anything else like that, but that's something you could do. And again, those rotors, very nicely done. I'm just looking at this join area. Actually, it looks really nice and sharp. So I think that'll connect well. You have got 2 ejector pins or 3 ejector pins in there. It's probably worth just cleaning those up so you get a nice positive sandwich when you do put them together. All right, so that's that one. Okay, so last, we've got the clear parts. Get in. So we've got a nice bag for the clear parts. And again, very, very sharp, incredibly clear, beautifully done. You can probably see there's no distortion really in that at all. So that's very nice indeed. You have got a small center seam running just down the middle, down in here. Again, it's nothing big, but it's there, so you just need to polish that out. But luckily, it's got nothing on the front, and that front one is just crystal clear. You can see Trumpeter's clear parts, again, they're sort of legendary now. They are absolutely fantastic. Even these windows at the back, we give them through the distortion test. There isn't any. They're just all crystal clear, as you can probably see. So no problem with any of those at all. That's absolutely gorgeously done. There you have it. So now you've got that choice, isn't it? Are you going to do the Zvezda one, or are you going to do the Trumpeter one? As always, and it's pretty much the case universally, Trumpeter kits tend to go together easier than anybody else's. Just because there isn't quite as many parts, they tend to mold things more in one, but normally it is sacrificed by the quality and the detail of the kit, and sometimes the accuracy of the kit as well. So a couple of things to note, and say it's very difficult to know unless you've actually built it, but you know, the cockpit is actually off center. It is slightly skewed to the rest of the fuselage because when the aircraft is up and it's in flight, it's slightly off because the rotor head is off. I don't know if that's molded into this kit. I know it is with the Zvezda. I don't know if it's on this one. And if you're a Hind purist, that's the thing you'll be looking for. So it's little details like that. It is a shame that there's no engine in it as well. But again, if you want what we call a curbside model, or something you're just going to look at and admire without getting too in detail to it, this is definitely a really nice kit. And again, yes, it hasn't got all the raised riveting down the back, but there's a certain manufacturer out there that does that for it. So if you wanted to get involved and get those onto it, you could. But surface detail, I feel on this kit is a little bit better externally on the fuselage than the Zvezda kit is. So from that point of view, I think it's a really, really nice one as well. As always, you paid your money, you take your choice, don't you, at the end of the day. Anyway, that is Trumpeter's gorgeous 1/48 scale Hind 24D.